How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. Now on today's show we're going to be talking about the Premier League because there's been 4 more positive tests for coronavirus during its rounds of testing. We're also going to be talking about David Luiz because his spell at Arsenal could well be over. And the last piece of news involves Arsenal's women's team because they've been fined by the FA and the reasoning is not good.
I represent my fucking self.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. That's right.
So before we get into today's first story, I want to let you all know that you can now become a member of the DT channel. It's very simple to do. If you go to the home page, you can click the membership, you can sign up and you can get exclusive perks. It's very straightforward. It's very simple. The link is in the description, so get yourself involved. Now, the first story that we're going to be starting with is the Premier League. And there's 4 more people from 3 Premier League clubs that have tested positive for coronavirus after the 3rd round of testing. There were 1,008 tests carried out on Monday and Tuesday, and a 4th round will take place on Thursday and Friday, with up to 60 people from each club to be tested. It's not yet known whether the 4 new positive tests are for players, non-playing staff, or a combination of both, or whether any of the positives are from people who tested positive in the 1st round and who have returned and self-isolating for 7 days. A statement read that the Premier League can today confirm that on Monday the 25th of May and Tuesday the 26th of May, 1,008 players and club staff were tested for COVID-19. Of these, 4 have tested positive from 3 clubs. Players or club staff who have tested positive will now self-isolate for a period of 7 days. Previously, between the 19th and the 22nd of May, 996 players and staff were tested for COVID-19, of which 2 tested positive from 2 clubs. Some 748 players and club staff were tested for COVID-19 from the 17th to the 18th of May, with 6 testing positive from 3 clubs. For the 4th round of testing, the number of tests available to each club will be increased from 50 to 60. The next set of testing will be the first to be conducted when at least some of the Premier League clubs have resumed contact training, which was unanimously approved on Wednesday. No matches have been played in the Premier League since March, but the government has given the go-ahead for elite sport to resume from June the 1st. So a little timetable here from the very beginning. But from March the 5th, pre-match handshakes were banned in the Premier League. And of course, this was before the lockdown. March the 11th, Manchester City versus Arsenal was the first Premier League game to be suspended. March the 12th, Man United Wolves play away in the Europa League behind closed doors. March the 13th, football suspended following an emergency meeting between the Premier League, FA, EFL and WSL. And of course, Mikel Arteta was tested positive for coronavirus. In April the 15th, the SPFL clubs approved plans to end the Scottish Championship, League 1 and League 2 seasons. May the 15th, League 2 clubs vote to end the season with immediate effect. May the 17th, Premier League clubs, players and staff tested for COVID-19. May the 18th, Scottish Premier curtailed with points per game determined, league positions and Celtic named champions. May the 19th, the Premier League clubs return to socially distanced group training. May the 25th, Women's Super League cancelled with title and relegation to be determined. And May the 27th, Premier League clubs vote to resume contact training. So that's where we are at the moment. And I know it don't look good that there's 4 more positive results. But when you look at the amount of players and staff that have been tested, that's a relatively low number. I suppose the worry will start to be, taken into consideration if we get back to the full, contact training and there's a positive result. That's when I feel that people need to worry. At the moment, everyone's getting their first rounds of testing and everything else. So you kind of got to take that at face value. It's not a mass amount. If next week when teams get back to full contact training and everyone's isolating and all these measures are in place and then we start having positive, testing, that's when I feel that you need to start to really worry. But at the moment, that's actually not too bad. And from what we're hearing as well, the players are not, it's the best way of putting it, they're not in a serious critical condition. A lot of the players probably don't even know that they do have coronavirus. That's the mad thing. Adrian Mariappa was one of the players at Watford and he had no symptoms at all, and he was, looking forward to returning to training. So interesting, and this develops every day, and we will find out more in due course, no doubt. Next piece of news is a bit of a strange one that broke yesterday, and I think that a lot of people were quite surprised by this one. But David Luiz's brief spell at Arsenal could be coming to an end, with the Brazilian out of contract next month and no negotiations over a new deal planned. The Brazilian defender was an £8 million deadline day signing from London rivals Chelsea last August, replacing club captain Laurent Koscielny, who joined Bordeaux the previous day. It was widely reported that Luiz arrived in North London on a 2-year deal, but Sky Sports News has learned that the agreement was only for an initial 12-month stay. After last summer's significant investment in the first team squad, including a club record signing for Nicolas Pepe, Arsenal are expected to restrict spending. A lack of Champions League income and the global coronavirus pandemic are also factors. Mikel Arteta has reportedly sung Luiz's praise since replacing Unai Emery as head coach in December, and it is understood to be desperate to keep him as the Gunners' technical director, Edu. Luiz is also keen to stay at Arsenal and has told friends he wants to remain in London. He has benefited from Arteta's appointment. Despite having several central defenders to choose from, the Spaniard has picked Luiz for 14 of the 15 games he has managed to date. So yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one because like most people, we all thought that David Luiz had signed a 2-year contract. And there was not even any questioning over, this situation. There were some people saying, if we're going to sell him, how are we going to do it? Because who would buy him at his age and, with only a year left on his contract? But I don't look too much into this at the moment. I feel that with everything going on and trying to complete the season, I feel that there's other priorities in place at the moment. I feel that the willingness from David Luiz to stay at Arsenal, the fact that Mikel Arteta clearly wants him to stay there, the fact he's used him so much, 14 out of the 15 games he's managed. So I think it's pretty much a little bit of something about nothing, to be honest with you. Maybe a bit of a slow day in the media circle, and they've come up with a story that they need to report on. But at the moment, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think David Luiz will be here next season. And we'll wait and see. And I don't think we're going to hear too much at the moment. We're just trying to get games finished and the season completed. And then we might start to see as to what happens with signings, ins, outs and whatnot and contracts. Last piece of news involves Arsenal women, and they have been fined £50,000 and ordered to send members of staff on an education programme after the club decision to dismiss an autistic youth coach in 2014 was deemed in breach of FA rules on discrimination. The Women's Super League club has denied that its dismissal of under-15 coach Robin Carpenter was an act of discrimination by reason of disability, but an independent regulatory commission concluded that Arsenal treated him less favourably than they would have treated an employee without disability. Shortly after the ruling was made public on Wednesday afternoon, Arsenal released a statement saying that they were very disappointed with the decision. Ensuring that we have an inclusive environment is central to what we stand for as a football club, read the Arsenal statement. We are very disappointed by the decision and we sincerely believe there was no discrimination in this case. So look, it's not a great one. It dates back, to 2014, 6 years ago now. And Arsenal do pride themselves on class and the way that they, handle situations and the way that they handle themselves as a club. And that's not just the men's team. That's right down to the under-23s, to the younger academies, and even the women's side. And this is not good, and it don't look good. And the fact that an independent, commission has concluded this, that it was a breach of rules, on discrimination, it don't look great. And hopefully the people involved, if they're still at the club, can learn from that. Certain measures will be in place to make sure it doesn't happen again, because we certainly don't want any form of discrimination. Listen, it's just not great, and you can't condone it. I might be an Arsenal fan, but I'm not going to sit here and paper over cracks to do with things like this. It's not acceptable, and it's as simple as that. And yeah, it dates back to 2014. I don't know who was involved and what the situation was. I don't know if these people are still even at the club anymore. But if they are, then, well, I hope they've learned their lesson. And I hope Arsenal as a club can move forward with this. And things like this don't happen again, because it's not great. And it's a bit of a black mark on the club, in my opinion. So take it as you will. And we move forward, we live, we learn. So there we go. That is it from today's DT's Daily. As usual, let me know in the comment section what you think about today's topics. If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash a like on this video. And I will see you lot tomorrow. I'm out of here.